everybody, Matt Yankovic, head of open source strategy at Scarf, or the Hoss for short. Yes, I'm here to talk to you about open source businesses and making them successful yet again. Today, I want to look in on how our new community is doing. So if you have followed along on LinkedIn or Mastodon or Twitter or at any of the other places that I've posted about this, you noticed that we have launched a new community called the Open Source Business Metrics Community. And you can get to that going to opensourcemetrics.org. Now, part of that is we have metrics that we talk about tracking around website usage. Now, for us, when we launched this community, we actually soft launched it at FOSDEM a week ago, where we put a slide into our presentation and suggested if people want more details, they should go to this website. We're going to put all the information from our talk on the website, and you'll get a lot more details, and invited people to join. Now, part of that was a discussion on how to track this. Now, there are lots of different web analytics tools out there. And so we looked at a few different ones, but we wanted to go very minimal. We don't want to have a lot of overt tracking. We don't want a lot of detail. We want something very minimum. And so what we decided to do was we actually decided to use Scarf to do the very bare bones tracking. The only things we really wanted to understand was how many people are accessing the website, where are they coming from, and how many unique people we have, and that's really about it, right? Those are all metrics that we talked about in the guide, and so we wanted to see how things went. Now, the official announcement for this on social, where we kind of threw it out to the world, was yesterday. So I wanted to check in to see how things are going. And part of that is taking a look at Scarf and the dashboard for this. Now, if you're not familiar with Scarf, Scarf enables tracking of packages, containers, files, any sort of like content that you want. It can help track who's downloading it, who's using it. But it also has a pixel tracker, which allows you to embed a little tiny image on a page, documentation, readmes, things like that. And it will track how many people accessed it, and we'll count the number of uniques and a few other things. So we're using that to do very lightweight tracking on the opensourcemetrics.org website. So let's take a look at the dashboard and see what we got and see what sort of traffic we got. Now, you can see the screen here. This is the package analytics for our pixel for opensourcemetrics.org. And the first thing you'll notice is our traffic numbers. So we have the total unique views and we have the total views. Now keep in mind, the dashboard has a lot of download type metrics. And so you can see the views at 750 views. That means there have been 750 page views since we launched. And again, soft launch a week ago, and the more broad announcement yesterday. And so we've had 269 unique views, and so that's akin to unique users, if you will. So getting 269 unique users, it might not seem like much when you talk about projects that have, millions of users, but this is a brand new community that we just launched, starting from zero, without a lot of context, just more generic social, let's go talk, let's go grab people. That's actually a pretty decent outcome, and I'm happy with those numbers given the state of where things are and how quickly we turn this around. That's 269 people who are interested potentially in measuring the success of an open source project or an open source business. Now, you'll see the graph here where we've got the number of downloads and the number of uniques. And you can see here, this is when we announced at FOSDEM this, and we put a slide in. So what's really kind of cool is I had maybe 200 people, maybe 250 in my room at FOSDEM. It was one of the bigger rooms. Hard to know exactly, but I think the room itself sat, several hundred, and it was a little over half full. But we had almost 100 unique people view the open source metrics.org website during that first day. So when you talk about that kind of instant connection with an event, what is the outcome of the event? I'm able to see like, oh, this event led to this much traffic or this many people kind of viewing or looking at us. And you can see the day after was similar. Now, that same week we went to the State of OpenCon. I'm wearing the hat, and you can see that the bump from there also was pretty decent. So not as dramatic, but you definitely see that bump where it just went bloop. Okay, great, that's awesome. We see the bump that we want to see, and so we can kind of measure the outcomes. So for us, FOSDEM, was definitely a great coming out party for the website and for kind of like this new community we're trying to build. It was something that helped, kind of gain interest. And then we could see the bump here, this from yesterday, so 215. You could see that the number of downloads was, close to 100. 32 unique people looked at it. And this is just from social. This is just from us saying, hey, everyone, we're here. You should join. You should check it out if you don't know what it is. And so we posted on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Mastodon. And so that's where we've got that. And then today I just posted to Hacker News this morning as well. So we might see a little bit of pickup from Hacker News when I look at this in another week or so. I'm not sure how long it will take or if we'll get upvoted there. So, hey, if you are watching, go upvote on Hacker News for us. Let's see what happens. But this makes sense because when you think about the FOSDEM conference, my talk was the guidebook to running an open source business. And so if I have 300 people out in the audience, that's 300 people who are interested in the topic that this is very specifically designed to help. So those people should find value in that website, in that community. Whereas on social, I'm saying, hey, everyone, come and look at this. Well, I know a lot of people who are, developers, engineers in the DevRel space who might not necessarily care about running an open source business. So they might upvote or, like it because, they want to, help me out, but they might not be really interested in digging into the guidebook. So I might get 300, 400, 500 people who, view that post, but maybe only 20, 30 are really interested in the business side of things. And so it makes sense that those numbers are a little lower because it's less of a targeted audience. Now, you can see the other metrics that we can gather here. Most of the traffic came from the UK, which State of OpenCon was in the UK. That's great. A lot of folks from the UK were over at FOSDEM as well. And then the US. Now, breaking these down a little bit, I can see, and if I look just at the last week, so that should cut off most of that FOSDEM type traffic. Most of the recent stuff is in the US. I have a lot of US contacts. Most of the social is probably going to be viewed mostly for me in the US. But the other countries are represented there. But it's highly proportionate to the US. Whereas if I look at the last month and I go back, you can see that a lot of the views and the individual folks who were looking at this came from Europe as well. So 89 from Belgium, which, hey, FOSDEM was in Brussels. So I know that conference talk had an impact. People liked it. And I have some concrete metrics and data to kind of back that up. Now, some of the other things that I can look at here, I can look at what hosting providers, most of the traffic are coming from, or what sort of place they're coming from. So you could see some Yandex, DigitalOcean, Amazon, Google type of thing. I can look at the clients. So most people are running Chrome. Not a surprise. A few Firefox. Very few Safaris, though. Just an interesting thing. But we can also look at the number of, or what sort of companies are coming in and using or taking a look at this. So here we could see, Internet Archive, the lottery in Italy. Sure, why not? Booking.com, Apple, Line, Panasonic. So, it's interesting to see where some of these folks who might be interested in measuring some of the impact of their open source are. We could also sort that by account and see who's doing the most, and obviously FOSDEM, and that's that FOSDEM kind of network. But we can definitely see some of that. And then we can come down here and we can look at the refers. So where is our traffic coming from? A lot of undefined. So that's going to be coming from without a refer. So it's a direct kind of connection to the website without refer information. Opensourcemetrics.org. This is going to be reflective if people are in the page and they're clicking to another page. So that makes sense. So 207 people hit something on the website there and then went to another page at least. That's cool to know. And then what's interesting is localhost. Localhost is the people who are grabbing the repository on GitHub for opensourcemetrics.org and then running it locally. This is Hugo website, so this is just Hugo server. And because those web pages have the pixel tracker and have the little pixel, it's connecting those, which is really neat because that way I can see if people are going and trying this locally and maybe, taking a copy and, looking to contribute. So that's a really interesting metric. And then we can see LinkedIn, Twitter, Hacker News. So, a few other ones there. And like I said, I just did that today. Hey, go out there and upvote on Hacker News if you're watching. But what's kind of cool is if I go to last week, and so this is mainly the social side, we can see that definitely for us, we're getting more people interested on LinkedIn than, let's say, Twitter. And now what's interesting is I don't know where Mastodon's showing up from a referral type perspective. That's something that I need to dig into. I'm curious because I don't have a huge Mastodon following, but the people on Mastodon have kind of left Twitter and they are very passionate about the open source space. And so I've seen some good interactions and met some really great people there. So that's pretty awesome. Let's go back here and let's look at the last month again. And when we come down here, we can also see which pages are getting hit the most. And again, the homepage, opensourcemetrics.org. That's awesome. But we also see that the main guidebook, which is the complete guide, just completely written out on everything that was there, is also really, really well seen. And then people are also looking at the metrics list as well. A few people looking at the podcast links, and then looking at the intro to awareness or the contributor metrics session. So again, we can get different ideas on what people are looking at and take a look at the traffic for that. And that's kind of cool. But so there you go. Day 1, or you can call it day 7 if you want, depending on how you're looking at it. But, just after the launch, I'm happy with where we are. Obviously, we want to continue to grow the number of people who are coming there. We want to grow the number of contributors. But it's kind of cool to see, early traction for that initial launch and see what's happened. Hopefully, this has been informational, educational for you. Hope you enjoy the opensourcemetrics.org.